So as you can see in the scraping, I saw a thing where people were like, talking about, how clean you keep your palette and whatever. So what I like to do is, I like to scrape a lot of stuff. By no means is it clean, but I don't like it getting all that super clumped up stuff everywhere. It just kind of bothers me. So, I always give it a good scraping. There's no such thing as clean in oil painting. But here we have our red, blue, yellow, white, brand new tubes of paint. We're going to mix it all in our little magic middle here. And that's it. Okay, so this is what we're doing, guys. So I like this here. It's Morro Bay. Oh, oops, sorry. It's Morro Bay. Again, this is black and white, so we're going to add our own color, but being black and white, it kind of says what the values are. It helps. I don't know. So we have a nice tree, a nice slope going down here, some beach, some of this other beachy stuff goes out to the rock, and then our horizon's in the top third, and then it's always foggy and gray there. So anyway, this will be our painting. A lot of nice definition here. Lead our eye through up to here, and then, I don't know, make a nice painting. Alright, so here's the deal. I'm going to do the drawing part and leave that at unedited and at regular speed, okay? And the reason I'm doing that is because, the starting of the painting is probably the most important part. Here you have a nice big blank canvas, toned or not or whatever. But anyway, so what we're doing is we're just drawing out. We're just drawing out our composition is what we're doing. Okay, we're trying to figure out, we're using the picture in this case, or outside, and you're being conscientious of where you're placing objects. Where these dark lines are, where the trees are, where the rocks are, what path is going to lead you through. And so we want to be really conscientious of how we're designing our painting at this point. Now the color I'm using is, it's just basically blue, red, and yellow right there, with no white. And then using a lot of spirits, turpentine, mineral spirits, whatever you're using, gambling, to thin it out, and then that's what we're doing. And I've got this brush. It's a real, one of those really stiff brushes that I've been using a while. It has a point and it's been worn away, something fierce, and that's what kind of brush I'm using. You can use whatever brush you want, obviously. I'm not going to be there to tell you, use that brush. But the whole point is what you want to do is use something that allows you to, scratch in a good design idea. Okay, like here I'm putting in these trees. Now I did tone it back a little bit, putting in a little bit of white just to see where it goes, because you have your foreground, your middle ground, your background, everything, and so sometimes it helps to differentiate that in your composition. As such, this is the big tree that's going in. It's going to be knocked back just enough so it's just a little bit behind, and it looks like it's coming like over that hill that I'm standing on. And so that's this tree that I'm just kind of sketching in. Now, obviously, as you can see, there's no light, no dark patterns or anything like that. It's just the graphical nature of what this tree is going to look like. There's some branches, there's the foliage, there's the trunks, there's this, there's that. But, as much as you're looking at the picture, you're not trying to copy the picture. Using the picture as inspiration, just like you're out in the field, you're using the nature as your inspiration. You're not trying to copy anything exactly, unless there's lettering. Then you gotta be pretty okay with the lettering if it's like on a sign or something. No regurts or anything. Anyway, so here we are, just scratching in this background, or scratching in that tree. And I really like how the tree was going in at this point. Not really entirely sure where I lost it somewhere in the painting, but you'll see when we get there. So it's just a little bit darker, and the reason is I'm going a little bit darker is because usually when you paint something in, it's lighter and cooler at the top and a little bit warmer and darker at the bottom. And that's generally what you want to kind of shoot for. So here I'm kind of showing that some of the the tonality is that it kind of recedes into that hillside a little bit. Okay, so now we're on to that middle ground. This is, even though it's really far in the background, there's like down the hill, over the hill, this and that, and it's pretty far away. So as I'm using it, just to make it easier, honest to God, I mean, you could still use the same color or whatever, but it just makes it easier so that you don't have any color bleeding or anything. But here I'm putting in this, the background or the middle ground, and this is where basically it's like a slow or something like that, and then it goes into the water. Anyway, but I'm knocking it back pretty far as I'm drawing in these lines. And while the drawing, of course, the picture is showing one thing, I am drawing it in the way I want it to be in the painting. That's the more important part. And there's like these sand dunes or whatever that separate the I think it's like a peninsula. There is what it is. It's like peninsula. You got these sand dunes that you can go out to, but you really can't unless you swim. I guess you can swim over there, but most people like kayak or whatever to it. Those sand dunes and whatever, and then do whatever. But there's like this middle island area that goes from the inner part of the bay, and it goes around this like peninsula, and it goes out past the rock. Super cute place. Always cold, always chilly. And then as it goes out a little bit further, so here I am trying to figure out, now I want to put this rock right in the right place, okay? Right in the right place. Is that the right place? I think so. Because I'm using my registration marks to kind of offset it from the center and the center, and making sure I'm using the rule of thirds to get it right where I wanted it to. And then there's otters in there, but we didn't paint any otters in here. So once we have that rock in there, and it has you can go out to the rock all you want and drive out to it. It's pretty cool. And then on the other side of the rock is where all the surfing goes on, because that's not where all the waves are crashing down. And it's like apparently good surfing or something. I don't think I'd ever go in because I don't want to go surfing in minus 40-degree water, but that's up to you. Okay, now further on into the background here, we have, there's hills there. Like this whole part of Central California has like hills that run right along the coast. And right about San Luis Obispo or Morro Bay, maybe just a little further south, San Luis Obispo, whatever, is where those hills basically start to come in at. So you have these hills that just kind of run right along the coast. It's super duper beautiful. But also it goes into the town of Cayucos into the background. Okay, so at this point, as you can see, the drawing is done. My composition is done. I've done the composition. I've got my trees, my plants, my rock where I want everything, where the hillside is and everything. Now I'm going in with the, what's called the fun part, the passion part, if you will, as it is taught to me. This is the passion of painting right here. And I'm going in with, again, it's the same palette of color. I really need to set up a different camera where you can see the color mixing too. But again, it's really super gray and it's really foggy, really overcast and all that other good stuff. So that's the overall feeling, the emotion that I'm putting into this. I know a lot of my paintings tend to have a lot of gray. That's due to the color blindness, but you know, hey, whatever. I think everyone else's paintings are off too. So here we are. Now you get this, like, you know, the ocean water coming in, get a little sunshine, barely touching it, really cute, really nice. And then, so anyway, so now we're just going to passionately, using fun broad strokes, this and that, I'm using a different brush that's not as old. And I'm just going ahead and putting in color, just smear that color in. Very simplified again, very simplified. general basic shapes, general basic tonality of how I want the feeling and the mood to go in. Very subtle color changes, very subtle, differences in the not only the color but the value, because I do want this, the rock and the distant shore to recede into the painting. I really do. And the one thing is, my tree is starting to disappear, and I was a little worried about how that was going in, but we'll come back and plot that color in. And again, I'm using this panel it's not masonite. Apparently, you really can't buy masonite anymore, but it's hardboard. And then on this hardboard, I'm using the Gamblin gesso, it's like a bag of dry stuff that you have to put in a boiler, a double boiler, and this and that. And then you put on about, 4, 5, 6 coats or whatever. And then you give it a nice little sanding, and it gives you this really beautiful surface to paint on. I think it's more for portrait stuff, which is what I'm going to do in my next video. Stay tuned. But anyway, so it's a very smooth, very slick texture. And I don't know. So anyway, so I'm keeping everything pretty washy, I guess you can say at this point. There's not a lot of real thick paint going in. I'm keeping it thinned down pretty far. All right, so I'm just going to be quiet and let you enjoy the painting for a moment. So what I'm doing, just so you can follow along with my thought process, is I'm A, building texture, B, defining my lines, my edges, defining some edge work here. Now again, keep in mind that while I'm trying to keep this as simplified as possible, I want to have just enough variation in the texture to give it some interest, if you will. Like these little trees or whatever down here that are way down there. There's not a lot to them. You're not going to paint leaves in there, that's for sure. You're just suggesting in the idea of something being there. That's all you're doing. And now one of the, kitschy things you can do is when you're putting in your sky, it's obviously the most or least contrasty part. It has to be furthest in the back. It has to be the least. You can't make your sky so that it's warmer and overpowers the rest of the painting, or else it doesn't look like a sky. So anyway, the color is different from the value of it. But as you can see along the top, is what I'm going to try and do here, and it shows up a little bit later, is the top of the mountain, or the top of that ridge, is supposed to kind of peek through, but it has to look like it's kind of going up into the fog and everything. So we're going to go through and fix that. But for now, we're going to come back into, we mixed up, we're still in the same puddle of color, by the way, the same, but as what I did is I mixed in a whole bunch of more colors. So I've got basically a lot of blue, some yellow, and a titch of red in here, because what we want to do is, again, create texture. It's ever so slightly variations in color, and but we want to create some texture and whatever, and put that in here. Just load it in because we need this foreground stuff. And these bushes that you find along the California coast here like this, are usually like brambly bushes, or pretty scratchy type of very hardy bushes, especially given the fact that they're, so exposed to the elements, the, the salty sea air, the wind, this and that. You get a lot of really hardy variety of plants. And then here is like, this is a kind of a column here. I put in so it looked like there's like dirt or a little like, patch without the plants. That's just some texture. That's just going to blend it up in there. And the one thing you got to be careful is when you're doing, using a lot of solvent to keep it thin, is it will dry out fairly quickly. As opposed to when you start going in with the wet on wet stuff, when you start really getting the juicy strokes in there. But again, all we want to do is start creating the variation in texture, defining a few shapes. We're not getting in the weeds here. We're not trying to be illustrative. We're being very suggestive, very impressionistic about it. And this is where your brushstroke, your mark, your uniqueness really shines through. See, that'd be a good part to have like the palette cam. Funny enough, I have two GoPros. One of them works like okay, and the other one will record for about 13 seconds and it just dies. So, oh well. Okay, so here we're going to go back and try and put this tree back in. Now this tree was really, I thought the tree was really pretty cool. It's kind of like it really is the center of attention. It really is because it has the most contrast. It's the most defined. It's the most hard-lined edge, stuff like that. And that's what this tree is. So we really want to go through it. And while I'm looking at the picture of the tree, it's really just about making it look good on canvas and using the simplified strokes to define all these, pods or whatever, brambles and whatever. And that's what we're trying to do. We just want it to look kind of cool, if you will. Most contrast, like I said, the most contrast, the most interest to it, the most detail. Now the rock in the background is kind of like the secondary part. It's not the focal area. This tree is our focal area. And you're like, oh my God, it's a nice looking tree up on this hillside. Oh, it's so peaceful, this and that and everything. Oh, hey, look, Morro Road. No kidding. And then for those who've actually been there, not the smokestacks would be behind the tree. Like behind, probably just off to the right would be those smokestack things. So anyway, you can see the paint's starting to get a lot thicker now. Just trying to define out some of the positive and negative edges, or defining the positive shape by creating the negative shapes. The paint's getting thicker, getting a little more into the weeds here, into the brambles, if you will. And so, this at this point is where you can really start getting into it, but don't overwork it. Like I think I may have overworked it just a hair. Maybe, I don't know. Hey, that's part of the journey of being an artist and painting. Anyway, let's see how it turns out. Oh, yeah, you gotta put in your signature, guys. That doesn't work. I don't know. Okay, so here's the deal. This part right up in here is where I'm not really feeling it. I don't know. Maybe a little more texture here and there, but I do like the smoothness of it. It's because the canvas is using gambling gesso on a masonite board or hardwood board. And you give it like a nice smooth sanding. So it's a very smooth board. It's really kind of neat. Should video that for you. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and fix this a little bit right in here. Now, because as you look from the scene, as you look out over Morro Bay, there's That's Cayucos in the background. There's a big hill and the road goes that way. Oh, let's fix it. Okay, so as you heard in studio person talking, we're going to go through, and I'm using a softer brush here. It's not a bristle brush. It's kind of like a natural synthetic brush, and I'm just using that to go through and just blending that all in. Also, as you can see, I'm going to go through the whole painting and just kind of hit a lot of areas that I think need just that little extra touch, just a little extra blending, smoothing out just a little, smooth the take some of the harsh lines out, maybe add a few hard lines. Because see here, I switched out brushes again. I'm just adding in a few details, to bring out the rock a little, and that's, hey, that's part of the third phase of painting, which is the detail painting. And we are definitely in the detail of the painting right here. It's kind of weird now that I look at it like this. It looks like it could be acrylic, but it's all oils. I don't know. Here's yet another brush that does. I was hoping to give me a little bit of texture because brushes are part of the whole texture process, And usually I use it. It's thin. It's like a liner brush, but it's like really jacked up, and but it has a neat effect to it, and that's the important part. But I switched out to yet another brush that has a better holds lines a little bit better, so I can put a little more of these line details and everything in there. For all the trunk limbs and everything. But what it does is it just helps give a little bit more detail to it. Like I said, here we are in the part of the painting that has the detail, that has the higher contrast, that has the, that's it, detail and contrast, yeah. So anyway, so that's the part we're in. So I really wanted to kind of push that just a little bit more. And so that's what I'm doing right here, right now, really quickly, at 500 odd speed. But also that foreground bushel and brambles, it just isn't just, oh, this is a terrible signature. Look at this. Oh my God, that's why I don't do my signature like this. It's awful. Okay, so after looking at it, this and this, sign my name, I figured I'm going to go through and just kind of fix up a few more things. So meanwhile, this sound you're hearing is the squirrels in my brain going nuts as I paint. So I'll just be quiet and let you enjoy it. Pretty funny, isn't it? Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just poking in some air holes here in these bushes because that helps give it a sense of style of depth. So that's what I'm doing there. And just fixing some stuff here and there, a little more texture, a little more something. Yeah, make it look fun. Make it look like you had a good time painting. Okay, so here's the deal. I'm pretty sure this painting is done because I like it. And, if you work it too much, you keep noodling it too much, then you overwork it and you have to unwork it and this and that and simplify and this and that. So I'm pretty happy with that. I let it sit there for a couple of days just to kind of let it mill about in my mind as I walk by it every so often. But other than that, I think it's kind of really, I need to fix the signature though. Yeah, it's not a good signature. Anyway, but it just has a nice feel to it, a nice calm feel to it. Like if you ever go to Morro Bay, it's usually a pretty calm, relaxed, kickback place, and pretty good shrimp. So anyway, so that's Morro Bay, and then here's the other thing: is I'm doing a Patreon, so by the time this video goes live, maybe it'll be done, maybe it won't. I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. But if you go to the Patreon, I'll put a link right here or a picture of it. I don't know how to do links in there. I don't think. Patreon.com/Steve MacGyver. Even though I'm Eric Newbert Fine Art, it's just go with it. So, but basically, it's the full length videos with probably a little more commentary. And then we get to talk and discuss if you want me to help you with your work and help me or help you, with your painting process, your artistic journey. I mean, personally, I don't think that unless your stuff is hanging in the Guggenheim Museum Gallery of Art Contemporary on the National Mall of American History of Art, that you really don't have any real say, because then, like, unless you're like, an eighth degree black belt, I don't know, in teaching art. But I have been doing this for a long time. I am professionally have a degree in art. That was worth something. But anyway, but if you like my work, you like my style, and you like my theory of art, then join the Patreon. It's pretty cheap, $5, and then I help you, you help me. I get to buy gas. You get to get better at your art. We all win. Anyway, keep painting.